stab you, punch you, spit on you. We'd find needles in the playground. We as parents are kind of teaching our kids and grandkids how to be numb to the situation and, how to normalize this. My wife sometimes, she used to say, well, we need to move to such and such. And then 2 weeks later, you see on the news, well, such and such has the same problems.
I'm Siama Korami. Welcome to California Insider. Matt, it's great to have you on. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We want to talk to you, Matt, about your city, Sacramento. We've been watching from here, and we're hearing a lot of stories about the situation on the ground with homelessness. You guys are facing, and Sacramento was ranked one of the top 3 cities nationally that's challenged with homelessness. You have almost 10,000 homeless people in your city. Can you tell us what's going on, and if my numbers are correct?
State capital.
I think it's probably a little more. I think the last point in count was 10,500 maybe, and that's a total of people with shelter, without shelter, but people experiencing homelessness. You can't really go in the city and most of the county of Sacramento, any residential neighborhood where you're not going to see a problem. Our parks they're being taken over by tent camps. Any empty street that may be in, like a warehouse district, anything like that, it gets inundated with RVs and trailers. And our baseball diamond, who's getting ready to have their, first of the year grand opening parade for the season, the field and the street they're going to have to come down already has like 3 or 4 trailers. A lady just put up a tent right on the corner. It's really bad optics for people, especially kids, to have to walk by and see. They're supposed to be celebrating their life, and instead they have to kind of be told to look the other way, So we as parents are kind of teaching our kids and grandkids, I think, how to be numb to the situation and, how to normalize this.
So it's inside the community now. People are seeing it. It's not one place where.
Oh no, it's throughout. I have a friend that lives in a very well-to-do area. It's a massive regional park, probably 200 acres. There's always a track and field event there, and it's a big thing. There's a zoo there. There's everything at William Lamb Park, and beautiful park with a lot of funding, throughout the community. So they have the resources to keep it clean. And there's $1 million homes there. There's tents set up, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like one guy one night, and the next morning you walk by, and where'd that come from? And so when one starts, it's almost like a network, and then more start coming. So it's like, oh, well, they didn't mess with me today, so it's okay to be here. I mean, it's a hard situation to deal with, and I don't really think the leaders or anybody really want to pick up the grenade. I call it a grenade because once you pull the pin, everything's on your hands. You have to solve it, or you're going to be the bad guy.
What's the response from the government?
Oh, well, they have their crisis line or whatever you call it, and it's you have to dial 311 in Sacramento to make a report. And it's a multi-level thing. You can make a report for, they didn't pick up my garbage can or whatever. But it's also where you call to report homeless camps and things like that. And, there's a couple different sections. Homeless camp, homeless encampment blocking sidewalk, etc. Homeless camp in a park or bike trail type thing. So there's different levels of ways you can report it. They have a 311 app, and I use the app to make reports on things. And a lot of the reports are being closed without even being looked at. And there's people staying on the streets, and not just me, but 5, 10, 15 different neighbors are reporting the same camp. And they never leave. They never leave. And the kids, they go to the bus stops and they wait for their school bus and, or the RT bus, the public transit. And they walk by gallon bottles full of urine and things like that. If anything, it's a biohazard, a safety hazard, and I just don't understand really why it doesn't go away. Addict and alcoholic myself. So I don't believe that I don't believe anybody's being prosecuted, and I don't think a lot of the laws are being enforced, period.
So what are you guys told? So what you see in the streets with the homeless community, that you see the camps, and what are you told from the city?
Well, I was told from 311 one time by one of the operators that, we don't enforce homeless camps or homeless issues. I said, okay, but this is who we're supposed to call. And then he hung up on me. So I don't know if it's coming from a higher up level that they're not supposed to do anything or to leave them alone. I know there's a attorney who's kind of semi-protecting the people experiencing homelessness. The police are not allowed to move them. And they have the Department of Community Response, who was also supposed to go out, reach out, hey, do you need a place to live? We got to get you out of here, that type of thing. In my just drivings around, I mean, I've maybe seen one of them maybe 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years. I do know that they did come to my park one time and remove a camp, but it was after the fact, after the guy had set his entire couch and camp on fire and almost burned some of the heritage oak trees in the park. So I think a lot of people in the city of Sacramento are just throwing their hands up. You know, we can yell and scream, but it feels like sometimes it's falling on deaf ears. And I'm not saying all the city council or any of those people are bad. I know our city council person, I know my friend's city council person, they're really trying hard to do something, but I think there's only so much they can do or are being told they can do.
And it's interesting in that when Hollywood came to film a movie, Leonardo DiCaprio was in town earlier this year, the encampments mysteriously disappeared. So it showed what some lawmakers have told me is that this just proved that if the city has the desire, they can clean things up. But there really is no incentive for them. Their hands are also tied by a decision out of the 9th District Court, Martin versus Boise in 2018, which essentially said that no clearing of homeless encampments is allowed unless enough shelter beds are available. And this really put a halt to certain municipalities addressing homelessness with physical action. And what we've seen now is a battle between the district attorney of Sacramento and the mayor, Darrell Steinberg, where the DA is saying that the city's failing to act and enforce its ordinances, and the mayor is essentially saying that they're doing what they can based on the Martin Boise ruling, and that they need further assistance or further guidance from the courts to allow them to act. Very difficult to break this cycle. As one is taken away, we see another dealer pop up on the street to basically take the one who was arrested to replace his spot. It's also very interesting talking to the legislature, because they're very aware that this is a problem, but there are differences in how to address this situation. We have one side calling for more enforcement, saying that there needs to be teeth to these laws, there needs to be some sort of incentive to obey society's rules, while the other side says that we don't quite have the statistics. They're not looking to really increase enforcement. They're just looking to understand what's happening and to better stop the sale of these retail items. I've spoken with homeless people on the street that tell me they're well aware of the situation, what they can get away with and what they cannot. I've also spoken with law enforcement who equally confirmed that the criminal element is as savvy, if not more savvy, than the legal system is. They know exactly what they can get away with.
And you had your own experience with this, right? Can you tell us about your experience and what you were going through?
Before the Supreme Court this month. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today. Now the town is attracting national attention as its camping ban goes before the Supreme Court this month. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest.
Yesterday morning, volunteers assisted an 80-year-old man from his tent into a wheelchair. They helped him move to another park to avoid being fined.
I would say the situation's only escalating, and we're seeing more and more people unhoused, and at the same time, we're seeing more and more friction and frustration from community members on both sides because we've been paralyzed for the last few years waiting for the court case to be over.
Residents are fed up with drug use and discarded needles next to playgrounds and sports fields in this rural Oregon town. On Saturday, they rallied outside City Hall with signs reading "Parks are for kids." Passing drivers honked in support.
For years, I'd go to the park and walk in the park, and I'd see kids playing and the families and all the get-togethers we had, and that was taken away from us when the campers start using the parks.
Cities nationwide have been struggling to address homelessness. Debate over whether they can fine or jail people for camping in public has caused controversy.
Families are afraid to go to the parks. And it's not just the campers or the homeless, it's the drug use and the vandalism and the excessive littering, needles on the ground, broken meth pipes on the ground. So no one wants to take the kids anymore.
Grants Pass Mayor Sarah Bristol wants safe parks, but says the ban doesn't address homelessness.
But we still have like 200 people who have to go somewhere, and so I just don't really see how that resolves the issue.
Some advocates fear that anti-camping enforcement will push people out of town and perpetuate the issue.
If these civil or criminal penalties can be enforced, it will likely go back to a status quo of cycles of incarceration, which also facilitates cycles of homelessness.
The High Court will hear the case on April 22nd. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
No American should be homeless. No one wants to take the hand grenade of homelessness. They don't want to blow back when it doesn't work. I've been there more than once. I've been homeless. I know what it's like.